Yeah, we were talking about.
Start again?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, start again about the contract system.
Continue, no?
Yeah.
Contract system. So till the 1990s, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but so many years back, but till the 1990s, nobody had heard of a contract system. As I said, I was in the Times and the Independent had been started. Now the union was the Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha, and there was another union called the BUJ, Bombay Union of Journalists. Now we had to join the Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha, and journalists, we were also members of the BUJ. The general secretary of BUJ was a guy called M.J. Pandey.
M.J. Pandey. I know Pandey and Gurpreet Singh and
all that.
Yeah.
And Achin Vanayak also, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He was the husband of Pamela Philippos.
Yeah.
That Femina was the Times Global. Eve's Weekly.
Yeah.
He was an assistant editor over there. Now, the journalists from the Indian Post were weaned away and attracted to the Independent, correct? And the Indian Post folded up. Now these guys, Padgaonkar was joined as the editor at that time, and Darrell DeMonte became the resident editor. Pandey and others declared a strike, saying that the Independent would be closed down and those journalists would be brought down on the third floor to Times and put above our heads, and we would lose our seniority. And later on, his words were prophetic. It's actually happened.
I see.
But to summarize everything, I was very much there and witness to that era. Because M.J. Pandey was a very fiery trade union leader. He was a reporter. And he was there in the time with me. He stood just by my side, quite close by. Nice guy, very...
I know him.
You know him.
Yeah.
And I was witness to all the chief reporters. When I was there first, it was... before Alvin, I don't remember, then Alvin Fernandez. I hope I'm getting the names correct, sequence correctly. Alvin Fernandez, he passed away. Then Alvin, then after that, who was it? After Alvin was Dharmarajan. After Dharmarajan was Tyron, if I'm not mistaken. So Alvin, Dharmarajan, Tyron, then somebody else. Anyway, so this took place when I forget who was the chief reporter, but this got Pandey. He was a very nice guy, fiery trade union leader. I hope he forgives me for saying this, but a bit of a workshop because he was busy with his trade union activities.
Yeah.
But he was a good journalist. He was a good reporter. He knew how to extract information. One of his stories about labor, about how the state of Maharashtra had frittered away a lot of this thing because of the strikes, was carried on the front page by Darrell.
I see.
A good reporter, but more involved in trade union activities than in reporting. He was he called the strike. I remember his words because the whole newsroom was that stopped work, and he stentorian voice. He said that he had spoken to Padgaonkar, and it's very clear now that they are trying to pull dust over our eyes and they've got sinister motives. I don't remember the exact words. And therefore, we have no choice now but to declare a strike. So the strike was called. And the Times of India didn't come out.
I see.
And if the Times of India doesn't come out on a single day, it's going to cost the
loss of revenue.
Not revenue running into a huge amount, crores and crores of rupees. So a paper didn't come out for one day, and then I think it came out again and then come out again. So it didn't come out for, I think, around about a week or so.
I see.
May not be in quick succession, but didn't come out for a week, causing enormous loss of revenue. So I think that was the time when there was a rivalry between these unions, that is Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha, R.J. Mehta, and the BUJ. So these guys, the leaders of the BUJ, went to meet R.J. Mehta, M.J. Pandey, Achin Vanayak, and others. And I don't know what R.J. Mehta said because I wasn't there at the meeting, but they were not at all happy with what was said, and they decided to part ways. So R.J. Mehta used to keep, cyclo-style pamphlets on the tables of the all journalists and name people and make all kinds of allegations, etc. And we are deadly rivals, BUJ and R.J. Mehta.
Okay.
So this was the genesis of the contract system, because what I've been told is that Samir Jain said that some of these journalists are deadwood, and I'll be glad to get rid of them. So he was touring the United States or whatever, came, and the contract system was introduced. Now, if you didn't come on a contract, didn't accept a contract, you would not get a promotion. So they wanted the management's version was to break the unions. How? By introducing a contract system. Because the moment you accepted a contract, you could not become a member of a union.
I see.
So your fundamental rights
was part of the contract?
Yeah, obviously. that you couldn't become a
I
member
see.
of a union, and the union couldn't fight for you.
Yeah.
Because
Because you
you're-
were insecure.
You're insecure.
You could be thrown out anytime.
Your contract could not be renewed.
Yeah.
The contract means what?
So it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. You're there for 3 years or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, some of those journalists were saying, no, they are very fair and the contract is always renewed.
Yeah.
The contract is always renewed. And maybe, I don't know what, I don't want to go into it. I was offered a contract 3 times. I refused. I don't want to go into my personal thing. But at that time, Daryl was there, Padgaonkar was there. It was very surreptitiously introduced. Correct? First for the assistant editors, all of them were put on contract.
I see.
And if
And the
they,
bait was the highest scale. They were offered higher salary on
they were
contract.
offered, it was like this. Like if you're a chief sub, now there were 2 chief subs. One chief sub would be getting 10,000 rupees more than the other chief sub by, they would say, performance. Correct? Now it was gradually introduced. It wasn't overnight. It was very, very surreptitiously introduced. And the unseen thing was that if you didn't accept a contract, no promotion. So you would be left to die.
Okay.
As you
Stagnate. At least.
You get frustrated because you see young kids of 20, 22. Because I was teaching journalism in the Bombay colleges where I was working there. I was a BMA, I was a professor, I was the university paper examiner and paper setter. So these kids would come in and they would come on a contract and they would go above you.
Okay.
They would go above the journalists who were on wage board.
Yeah.
Like MJ Pandey, he was just kept as a reporter because he was not this thing. Now these leaders of the who had started the strike, who called for whatever, the management found some excuse or the other to charge sheet all of them. So all of them got charge sheet and all of them got eased out. MJ Pandey, Achal Vanaik, Walston Rego, many others whose names I forget. Something or the other. Pandey was charge sheeted and I'll ignore that. Okay, I'll just ignore. Sorry. So I don't want this to be recorded there. I'll just cut it short.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
No problem.
I'll just put it off. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
Sorry.
Not at all.
Yeah. Just lost track. Yeah, Pandey. First, they charge sheeted Pandey. He was a nice guy. But he was too bold. I don't want to antagonize him because he's my friend.
Yeah.
But
my friend too.
Yeah. This has to be verified. But what he said on one occasion that the Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha is in connivance with the management.
Okay.
So they charged him and they filed a defamation case of many cases against him.
Okay.
Now, he was a very intrepid guy, so he fought it out. He went to the court, trade union court and all, but they got him out of the paper.
Yeah.
So he was charged.
Without the goodwill of the management, a journalist cannot survive.
Absolutely. And everybody knew that he had called for the strike. He was a very powerful guy because he was the general secretary of the BUJ. See, it was a leftist organization because they would say Comrade Pandey. He was a nice guy and all those guys were decent. Okay, of course. I was there when Teesta was there. We used to have meetings all that.
Gita Seshu
and all that. So, decent guys, all of the journalists were very decent. So when they called for the strike, the loss of revenue, the management wanted to break the unions. They wanted to break the stranglehold of the unions on the organization. They brought in a director over there and he was tasked with breaking the unions because they didn't want the unions to have anything on, to have a stranglehold on anybody. These unions, Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha, outside the main gate during lunch hour, they'd have demonstrations. They'd come with symbols, and they would
symbols.
Symbols.
Really?
Yeah, ching those.
Yeah.
So they'd aartis. So they'd for 1 hour they would.
My goodness, what a cacophony!
Cacophony, absolute cacophony. And they would raise slogans against the management and against
Mazdoor Sabha or BUJ?
Mazdoor Sabha.
Okay.
And lot of abuses and things like that to make allegations against many people in the management and some journalists and whatnot. And there was absolute cacophony. You can imagine those days. 1 o'clock was lunch hour.
I see.
And there was a canteen on the 6th floor. They would get very subsidized food.
Yeah.
I remember it was 50 paisa, 1 rupee, a thali.
I see.
Okay, the price wasn't very good. I don't eat those thalis anyway, but you'd get a good meal for about 1 rupee, 50 paisa or 2 rupees.
I see.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that was the time when the Mumbai Mazdoor Sabha guys would stand outside the main gate, where the security guys were.
Yeah.
And they would raise slogans and they would start flashing those symbols. Ching, 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 ting, ting, like that. And the management called the cops, the police. So the police were there, bandobast was there, and this was a big problem for us to enter the building
I see.
and for us to exit it. I remember this every day. There was this Mumbai Marshal Sabha, chinking those bells and all those kind of things. And those were really momentous days. These Mumbai Marshal Sabhas, those they would circulate, they would print these pamphlets, these, and they would all kinds of allegations against journalists and management and whatnot, and they would be left on the tables of everybody.
I see.
The Bimla Patel has written a book, my memoirs is what she
Editor of Femina?
Yeah, right. And she's alluded to those days, to those pamphlets and all. I was a first-hand witness to those days.
I see.
Yeah, so as I said, they got Pandey out. First they charge sheeted him. He should, retrospect, he could have been more circumspect. You don't have to say that. And he named them a union also, like Mumbai Marsa wasn't connivance with the Times of India management and whatnot. He could have been more, because I was his friend, he could have put it in a different, but I don't want to go into all that those days. And, they charged him, they got him out, then they got Achin Vanayak out, and they got Walston Rego out.
Okay.
And these guys were very nice guys. Achin Vanayak was a very intelligent guy. I remember Padgaonkar was there at the time. He had flown down from Delhi during those strike days.
I see.
Because the whole Times of India was paralyzed.
I see.
The paper just would not come out. And they had phoned up Kalpana Sharma. And Shanta Gokhale was it, I think, but Kalpana Sharma came and they brought out the skeleton edition.
I see.
Just 6 pages or something. Achin Vanayak was very angry because he told some of these things that I don't hardly talk to him.
I see.
That he talked to us just a very superficial relationship. Because they had the audacity to come and bring out the edition. We had a meeting at the press club. Bachi Karkaria and everybody had come. It was huge. All of us were there. And for almost 6-7 days, and the paper didn't come out.
I see.
So it was a huge thing. It was a big thing. And the management wanted to break the unions, and they brought in the director. I don't want to mention his name. They brought in this director, and he was tasked with breaking the union. That is when they introduced the contract system. So you take a contract, and
you get all the goodies that go with it.
Yeah.
For temporary, yeah.
What they promise you a lot of things. I was offered a contract. And they promise you a lot of things. You'll get this allowance and you'll get that and that. What one doesn't realize is, because as a PhD in law, I know the whole thing. There's a law called the Working Journalists Act, which is enacted by Parliament, 1956. Correct? That protects all journalists. That's a law made by Parliament. Over there, all media houses are graded as per their turnover. 1A is right at the top. That is the Times of India group. Then according to your earnings, your 1B, 1A, 1. 2, 2B, 2C, etc., etc. Now, 2 chief subs will get the same salary. Your basic will be this thing and as you serve more and more, your salary will go up. You cannot be thrown out of a job because there's a mechanism prescribed over there that unless you come, you do something very wrong, you come drunk or something like that, and you do something grossly wrong, then you have to be charge sheeted. You have to be given a charge sheet. An outside inquiry officer from the Labour Commissioner's office has to hold the inquiry. And the inquiry has to be conducted before witnesses. Pandays to cross-examine and all this kind of things. And then you could challenge that. Then the punishment was imposed and all that. And that was it. So he was to, he didn't have a law degree, but he used to be there. And some colourful memories I remember, I was short time in Houston before I went to the reporting department. Over there, we had some colourful characters. There was a chap called K. Ishwar Dutt. And he was a sub-editor, senior sub. And he was an alcoholic. And, it was he used to come on the night shift and he used to start drinking, and nobody will keep it in his drawer. And by his whiskey, and by 7 o'clock, 7:37, he would get totally soused up. And he didn't have to bring out the edition. He used to only rewrite this and just push the copy back and forth like that. Should I tell you all this? On one occasion, there was a sub or senior sub, whatever, Usha, Zacharias or something. So they, night shift, they used to keep their mattresses down and go to sleep. So I remember this guy, he got completely soused up because of his, and he urinated on the mattress. And it was the joke of the 3rd floor. It went all over the 3rd floor like that. Then after that, they had no alternative but to make him a chief sub. And he had quite a problem. He has, after they made him a chief sub, he used to come to work, not come to work, come to work, not come to work. They charged him many times. And you have to keep, once you're a chief staff, you're a chief staff.
Yeah.
On wage board, you couldn't be got out.
Yeah.
See, this is the alternative, other picture side of the picture also. And ultimately, I'm sorry to say that he got cancer or something like that. He was admitted to Bombay Hospital and he passed away. But when he passed away, his wife, and she was working for BRC, and there were a lot of problems over there.
Yes.
So this was the alternative view, that deadwood and part of the game like that.
No, but Olav, your point, are you suggesting that the Contract Act is ultra virus of the law?
The Contract Act totally nullifies your Working Journalists Act.
So can it be challenged?
See, I'll explain to you. It is perfectly legal. It is not illegal.
Okay.
And I will tell you why. The law made by Parliament is called the Working Journalists Act.
Yeah.
I think it's 1956. Very short act, about 25 sections or so. Very short. Forget the number of sections, but very few sections. There is a section there, I think 16 subclause and all that. Over there it says, the exact words are, nothing in this act prevents a working journalist from entering into an agreement with his employer, provided those terms and conditions he feels are more beneficial than the provisions of this act. Okay. So that's an agreement. An agreement is a contract.
Yeah.
The exchange of consideration.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of this clause, okay, the company, that is Bennett Coleman Company, they have a huge team of journalists. They refer to their solicitors.
Yeah.
So they will do things perfectly legal. So taking advantage of this clause over there, they've introduced a contract system which is perfectly legal, saying that we are offering you things which are more beneficial than the working journalist.
But what if you make a case that it has been entered into under duress or something of that sort?
Well, that will have to be done, but they will see, it's very difficult to prove that it is under duress, because as of now, the Working Journalists Act in the Bennett Coleman and Company is almost extinct.
I see.
There are very few journalists there. In Maharashtra Times, Times of India, hardly anybody, I think. I don't know, maybe just about a handful, 10, 15. And will they group together and go to the city? Have to challenge it in a court. And they have to say there have been, their promotions are frozen, they're not going, they're not being given promotions, etc., etc. That way. And this is it. Now, see, there was one exception I remember. There was a chap called this Ambarish Mishra guy. He was taken by Dina Vakil to the Independent, and then he was brought down. And he and I also, he was...
brought down in the sense, taken to a different floor.
No, brought down to the Times of India.
To a different floor.
Yeah, from the Independent, Independent closed down, which is what we were protesting.
From the 5th floor, what?
To the 3rd floor, where Times of India was. And I was offered a promotion contract, Pradeep Guha. And 3 times and all this, they called me and all that. And Ambarish also was offered a contract. He also turned it down, I also turned it down. But he was given, I think, courtesy to Dina Vakil. Much about that later. Anyway, now talking about the contract system, it was introduced like that surreptitiously. Their argument is that we are offering you salaries much higher than better salaries than your wage board, which is linked to your performance. Now, I want to make this point, especially in print journalism, also applies to electronic media, but definitely in print medium, is that I was covering the High Court, I was High Court correspondent. Whichever beat you cover, like you may turn in a report, a journalist may turn in a special correspondent, whatever, may turn in, say, 8 stories a day. Is the editor in a position to use all 8 stories? The answer is no. They will use at the most 1. The remaining 6 or 7 will not be used. Now, they will gauge your performance on the basis of the stories which you have published, which is not within the control of the journalist concerned.
It's a subjective decision. Quality is a subjective decision, especially in the media.
Absolutely. So quality, see, your performance appraisal is, I would say, 90% subjective. 90% subjective. So this was introduced and everybody had to come on a contract. And many people accepted a contract. Now, there was a case over there. I don't want to mention this chap, this name. This particular head of the department, he was a dicey fellow. He used to claim to be knowing the gangsters and all this kind of thing. He appraised the journalists in pencil in front of them. Gave them a good appraisal. And after they went away, he rubbed out the pencil and brought down the appraisals in pen.
I see.
And so lots of complaints were made about him to the management, to the HRD department. So the next year they put up this notice saying that, see that the appraisal is done in front of you in pen only. Because it's supposed to be fair and square. Like, okay, you're my head of the department, you appraise me in front of me.
In front of you.
Correct? And then I say whether I agree or don't agree, then it goes to the editor who's the final authority, and then it goes to the HR department. So your appraisal is done. As I've said, I refused because I said, see, I had a first-hand experience. I was myself covering the High Court. I could turn any number of stories.
Yeah.
They publish Point number one, space is okay. Number two, they have a policy. Now the policy is hidden. Okay, they will not announce the policy and they don't want to antagonize some organizations or whatever, private treatise or whatever it is. So sometimes a good story will not be published. I don't mind disclosing to you that I had a number of good stories, investigative stories which I had turned, which were not carried. I will mention this, I was there when Daryl DeMonte went. Okay, he was a very nice guy, Daryl DeMonte. And after Daryl DeMonte came in Dina Vakil. Now, I don't mind saying this. See, she was a nice lady in this. She was a sophisticated person, And you being when you're sophisticated, your interaction with the grassroots is very, very poor. Which is to come in a car and go home in a car. She used to stay at Pedro. There's nothing wrong in that. But she used to interact with a select few people. And Amarish Mishra was one of her saying, this was good, just okay, that's okay, but she used to interact with a select few people. She would normally go by what the management said and she would introduce, and she was mostly closest in the cabin. She would interact, but not very this thing. She was not a hands-on person like Daryl DeMonte. I turned in some stories and they were not used. It went through the then section head. This man, I'll mention this guy. There was a guy called Subramani Balakrishnan. Correct? Now I'm talking much after the contract system was already introduced and it was already part of the system like that. I had filed one of the many hard-hitting stories. One story was about a Sardaji judge. Who was a judge in the City Civil and Sessions Court. Now, it seems he was allegedly in league with one of the gangsters there, and he had promised a quid pro quo, saying that he will give judgments in favor, he will give acquittals if some money was recovered to him. It was a shocking thing. So the complaint went to the Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, whom I knew very well at that time. I can disclose this. I knew many judges there at a personal level because I was asked to meet them. Yogesh Kumar Sabarwal, very pleasant chap. I had gone and met him also, and I got it confirmed from when I got the story, and I filed the story in the Times. At that time, Dina Vakil was abroad. Filed it, went to Balakrishnan, and he sat over it, and then Dina Vakil came down, and then it went to her, and I met her also, and she sat over it, and finally it was broken by another guy called Ranjit Kumne. I got furious. I said, see, this was my story. It was a very good story. And this guy, was first time, a very unique case. At that judge, he was suspended. He was, it seems the police had gone with the tape recorded conversation. They were suspecting. So he was talking to this Chota Shakil. That was the most shocking thing when a sitting judge, not a high court judge, he was a city civil court judge, was actually talking to Chota Shakil. I see. It was fascinating. And I got out, I was privy to that whole thing. Because I had many sources in the book. And the cops, the Bombay cops had tape recorded the conversation and they met Yogesh Kumar Sabarwal. I went and met him also. And he confirmed that to me. And he says, don't quote me. Please don't quote me. I said, I'll not talk to you in future. I said, Lordship, I'm going to have to, because he said, no, please don't, I won't talk to you in future. Please, because then I'll get into trouble. And he confirmed this to me, he quoted everything and all that. I didn't mention because he requested me, don't quote me. He was the Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court. And the cops had gone to him and they played the conversation, tape recorded conversation to him.
I see.
And they said, what should we do? He said, go right ahead and take action. And I'm going to suspend him from tomorrow. The suspension order was signed, it was served upon him, and he was suspended. And I phoned him up also, this Sardaji judge, I forget his name. And I said, see, I'm carrying a story, what would you like to say in your defense? He started literally crying on the telephone.
I see.
I remember literally sobbing. Please don't. It will ruin my case. I said, sir, you're already suspended. No, please don't. And he kept on begging me not to publish it. I'm so extremely sorry, but I have to file my story. I'm just a journalist doing my job. And I filed the story. So it went to Bharat and he waited for Dina to come down and she didn't carry it because she was afraid the story was broken.
Okay.
This was one of many stories. There was another story of mine. There was a Parsi doctor called, she was the head of the chemotherapy department in Tata Memorial Hospital. And she was accused of, not doing a job properly or something like that. Something was not, what she had diagnosed a person who was a doctor himself with cancer of the throat.
Yeah.
And instead of talking to him, talk to his doctor.
I see.
On basis of convention. Now as a journalist, I hate this word convention because I remember the favorite words of Dina Vakil were protocol. She had come from the United Nations, was a United Nations person. And over there, it's this protocol business. Now in journalism, we people don't go by protocol. We discuss, we talk to chief justices, talk to judges, talk to ministers. I've met so many ministers, like any other journalist.
Right.
Chief Ministers Ashok Chavan and so many other people and judges and Chief Justice and whatnot. If you go by protocol, you're sort of,
restricted.
you're restricted. You're not getting a full picture of the whole thing. So this was her major drawback. Sophisticated lady, a person who didn't use her own mind. I was told this by some of the directors whose names I can't mention now.
Yeah.
They said that she doesn't have her own mind. Her mind is a borrowed mind.
Yeah.
Her mind is the mind of that of a section heads, because she would only interact with her departmental heads, with her section heads. And she would, of course, interact with the others, but very randomly. You just go by what the department, protocol. What protocol has to, what you have to go by protocol. So that way, she was not at all a good resident editor. Not at all a good resident editor. Darrell De Monte was much better. And after that came Derek. He was also a great person. I worked under him too. Absolutely great, no problem. Very down-to-earth guy. I worked with Darrell De Monte, I was with Girilal Jain, Patgaonkar, and all these guys. I've seen so many editors in my time. So I would rate as a person who was, sophisticated, excellent command over the English language. Bimala Patel had mentioned her like that. In fact, too sophisticated to be in charge of a national paper like the Times of India, like that. And I remember one incident. There was a sub-editor. He was a PhD in English. I too was a PhD, and he was being harassed by the then news editor or something like that. And this lady would not interact with him. Didn't know. He had some health problems. So he was refused leave by the news editor. He got so furious that he went and assaulted the news editor and broke the guy's glasses in the open news room.
Wow.
Yeah. That guy's name was B. Chandra Mohan Rao. And this guy's name was, forget his name, he was a PhD in English, I forget his name exactly. And he broke his glasses and then he went, I don't know what happened, then he went to meet her. The damage is already done. And then that news editor spoke to Pradeep Guha and he was suspended and all that kind of thing. So this was the kind of situation which would build up when you're sophisticated and you don't interact with anyone.
Quite tumultuous times. But in the next section, in the last section, let's look at three things. Goan journalist in Mumbai.
Sure.
How media covers law.
Sure.
Whether it's adequately done or not. And lastly, your experiences in law versus journalism.
Absolutely.
Just these three things. Thanks so much for now.